Let's get started with our monthly review of the North Texas home market stats. And first, we're starting with the four main counties, which are Dallas, Collin, Denton, and Tarrant counties. They are what we call the heart of the Dallas-Fort Worth area in Texas. We are starting as usual with the sale price review. As you can see right now, so this is 2025. We are in March of 2025, but we don't have the complete data for March, so we have data for January and February. As you can see from this graph, starting from the beginning of this year, most counties experienced a bit of a jump in prices. So we can see that we have Dallas County, which is the blue line, Tarrant County, which is the gray line, and Red County and Collin County, which is the red line. We're all experiencing either slight or subtle price increases according to the median sales price calculation. The only county that seems to have a decrease in prices is Denton County. We can look at the trajectory of, let's just say, so this is for February. Let's look where we were in February of last year. In February of last year in 2024, we were experiencing similar type of jumps. And what's interesting, like from the standpoint of predicting where the market values might go again, this year, we might look at the last year as maybe like a little bit of an indicator of what might happen. So what happened last year that in February, all the markets jumped up. Now, we need to remember that the sale prices in February are closed sales, and because the sales are closed, it means that the contracts for these numbers were probably written in January. So from that standpoint, we can say that in the process of recovering from the New Year's holidays, the buyers came out in droves, made a very strong showing, raised the prices by the sheer number of their offers, and then we can see that in some cases toward March that flattened out. So for example, we can see that in March of 2024 the curve flattened out for Collin County and the curve flattened out for Tarrant County, but continued to go up for Denton County and for Dallas County. Just to let you know that so based on what I'm seeing last year, even though we might see a few staircase up movements, not one smooth big movement like here, but maybe like step, step, step. But nevertheless, all the steps are upwards until about May. And after May, we see that in last year, at the very least, mini prices started to decline. So I would say that right now, those of you who have homes for sale, or those of you who are about to put your homes on the market, rejoice and kind of be hopeful, because the trajectory reminds me of the trajectory of 2024. You see this upward movement, for the exception of Denton County. And I have a feeling that in Denton County we will see a recovery towards the middle of the spring. But anyhow, from the look of it, the prices are having an upward trajectory, at least for now. They might flatten out and have this little bump, just like they did last year. But nevertheless, we are in the positive growth territory. Let's take a look at our days in the market. And our days in the market were really high in January, which means that some people toward the end of the year, they decided to wait until the end of the year, I think, to take their homes off market. So this sharp drop, you see how sharp the drop is? I think it is home sellers who wanted to sell in 2024. They waited until the last moment, or maybe until January 1st of 2025, and then their listings expired or got canceled. I do remember that I was there on January 1st, 2025. I was in front of my computer and I was looking at the numbers of expired and canceled exploding in front of my eyes. We had thousands of expired and canceled that some of them expired on December 31st. Some of them expired on January 1st, January 2nd, but nevertheless, it was a bloodbath this year. In 2025, watching expiring canceled was something historical. As a result, we see this very sharp drop in the number of in the days in the market, which means those homes that might have been in the market for 300 days, 200 days, they finally took their properties off the market, and I don't know if they decided to rent them or they're going to relist later. But once they took the properties off the market, the average for the expired and cancels in terms of days in the market dropped as a result. So we see this drop right now. Let's take a look at whether we had a similar behavior in 2024. So this is January of 2024. Again, we see this drop. So it looks like we're heading the exact same direction with days in the market as we did in 2024 as for right now. Therefore, that is good. That means that the closer we are to April and May, the faster the properties are going to be selling, which is good news for the sellers. Not so good news for the buyers, because then they need to hurry up and not spend too much time comparing properties. Let's look at the price reductions. So this is the graph of the price reductions. And the way that you read this graph is that if the house sold at 100% of the asking price, then it's sold at full price. We know that since 2024, we haven't really seen that many instances of sellers on average generating above asking. It's been barely trading water in 2023. It didn't quite make it to the full price in 2024. And then so far this year, we're starting the year with most sellers sustaining multiple price cuts before they sell. And the median sale for these 4 counties is anywhere between 96.7, which is about 3.3% below the requested price, and 97.1. So what I'm seeing is that on average, most home sellers will make multiple price cuts, and at approximately 97% of their actual asking price, they will start to receive offers, or they'll finally negotiate an offer. For that reason, for those of you who are doing flips, take a look at the ARV. So what I would recommend whenever you're looking at this graph is to say, okay, my ARV might be 300, but based on the data from last month's sales, I know that most sellers had to take a 3% price cut before they could put the property under contract. So even though your ARV might be 300, calculate a potential for a 3 to 4% price cut from that 300 and make sure that your numbers still work with that price cut in place before you proceed with purchasing the property, because as of right now, unless you have budget for that 3 to 4% price cut, you might find yourself either breaking even or underwater on your flip. Months of supply. Months of supply is an abstract number that simply compares the number of unsold properties versus sold properties. So for example, if you had 12 unsold properties and 4 sold properties, then your months of supply is 3 months. As we can see in this graph, for our 4 main areas, on average, our months of supply is between 2.9 and 3.2. Those are pretty good numbers, actually, despite us weathering some pretty sad realities here on our price. You see, our price since 2022 has been down. And if you draw a straight line, in most cases, it is slightly declining even now. So despite the median prices being down, our months of supply are still within the healthy category. So the way that I would make you, ask you to think about it is between 1 to 3 months of supply is actually very healthy. We're still in the seller's market. 3 to 4 months of supply is already starting to become what I would call a balanced market, means neither buyers nor sellers have an upper hand. And then, apologies. And then once we go into 5, 6, 7 months of supply. Now we're in a severe buyer's market. Okay. Now, so right now, but I would say that we're still in a seller's market territory, despite coming out of some serious headwinds last year. Noted that the high of the supply, months of supply last year was about 4. So even at our worst time, even at our worst year, DFW, the North Texas area, is holding pretty well as far as the sellers still either having upper hand or at the very least not being in a buyer's market officially yet. Homes for sale is a supply of homes that need to be sold. So as we can see, our we had quite an increase from 2022. I think some homes that didn't sell in 2022 relisted in 2023, didn't sell in 2023, relisted in 2024. Didn't sell in 2024 because I've seen it. I've seen it with many properties. They relisted in 2025, but you see, it's like a cumulative effect. More and more and more homes are sitting unsold, and because there's so many of them sitting unsold, it creates a pressure, downward pressure on prices for them to cut prices to compete with other sellers, and lo and behold, the prices start to fall, just like we've seen in this graph. But as of right now, as I said, toward the end of the year, many people withdrew from the market. I saw the bloodbath with expired and canceled listings on the 1st and the 2nd of January, and right now we're staying relatively flat. Means not, even though some people have relisted since then, not all of them have. Unless we see this again, they haven't relisted yet. And then closed sales, we'll look at that one last. So our closed sales indicates the buyer activity. So this was like a seller's activity, and this is the buyer's activity. Based on the closed sales, we see that we actually had quite a jump in February. Just like I told you, even though these are closed sales, mean that the contracts were written 20 to 30 days prior. But that just tells me that in January, we had a very sweet looking jump in closed homes. We absorbed quite a bit of inventory left over from 2024, which is very, very nice. So we kind of like cleansed the forest, and now new trees, new listings can sprout. So the upward trajectory of the buyer's activity, buyers putting properties under contract and closing them, is very encouraging to see. That is pretty much all that I have for this graph for right now. Let's just continue to monitor the activity in the Dallas-Fort Worth area of Texas. And if the history is any indicator, so this is our increase for 2025. If we look at our similar graph, if we roll in the time 1 year back, we see that right now we have survived a winter. We definitely survived, like some of us barely survived this winter right here. But if to believe all other prior years, look at this, look at this, look at this, we are about to experience a big increase in buyer activity for all 4 counties. So on this hopeful note, let me know if you have any questions about any of this data. Also, please know that I can run similar data for zip codes, for cities, for neighborhoods. So if you're curious to see how your area stacks up, let me know, and I will be happy to jump with you on a Zoom call, and we can go over the stats, and I can even explain to you what to expect based on the last year's stats. My name is Elena Garrett, and I'm a realtor in the Fort Worth area of Texas. I'm with Keller Williams Central, and I specialize in working with investors. Let me know if I can help you with anything else. On that note, you guys have a wonderful day, and I'll see you at the next slide.